pleasure to meet you.
Okay.
Welcome to episode 448 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 3rd of May, 2022, and possibly being 449, and featuring K-9, The Fall of the House of Gryffen, written by Everett DeRoche and Graham Farmer, starring John Leeson as K-9, Keegan Joyce as Starkey, Philippa Coulthard as Georgie Turner, Daniel Weber as Darius Pike, and Robert Maloney as Alistair Griffin. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and I challenge you to come up with a good opening for a bottle episode. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Oh, did I forget to change the date and episode number? I'm sorry.
Alex Fireheart.
God, I feel like I had a joke related to this episode, but it's gone.
And Mad Matt Winchell.
Oh, waiting for my computer. It's in the mail. It should be here tomorrow evening.
Seriously, I've been scatterbrained all day, so...
It's been actually a very relaxed day today for me. My foot actually isn't killing me for a change.
Well, I am addicted to a new video game.
Oh?
Mm-hmm. It is not a multiplayer game, not at this point.
Mm.
It is the newest game in the Dune franchise.
Oh! I think I've seen advertisements for it.
Yeah, It's called Dune Spice Wars. It is a combination of an old school RTS and a 4X, explore, expand game. And I don't know, I've just been obsessed with it recently, so most of my spare time has been like, alright, I'm playing this. Oh shit, look at the time.
Steam has had a roguelike sale going on, but it also includes Metroidvanias and Souls-like games too. Got 2 Metroidvanias out of it, and I tried out one of them, and I'm already like 2.5 hours into it.
Yeah, but no, it's just explaining why I did the script in a hurry, because it was like, gotta get back to playing House Harkonnen. Gotta squeeze the spice out of the desert.
Squeeze!
I am now. I do want to go watch the old David Lynch Dune movie. As much as the newer movie was a cool watch, they still didn't have the over-the-top charisma the original did, not to mention the kick-ass music.
Right. That was going to be one thing they'd be hard-pressed to recapture, is how good that music was for that movie.
Oh, fucking yeah.
Not to mention some of that casting for that movie is just Angel's Kiss.
I mean, well, some of it, really, that movie is a tribute to overacting.
Yes, but overacting in the best ways possible.
Well, as like every character you see proceeds to attempt to eat the scenery. I mean, and some of them go over the top and just eat it all, like the guy that they got to play the Baron Harkonnen.
Mm-hmm. But you need it. You need it for that particular character because he's so over the top to begin with. The crazy psychopath.
Yeah, and if you look at the one in the new movie, he's really understated. So
you
only see him in one scene. I'm like,
really?
Really? Yeah.
That's our big movie threat.
I think he comes into play more in the second movie they're making,
Mm.
but still, it's like, um, you really want to see more menace and just pure evil.
Mm.
And I mean, this is the third interpretation I've watched, and the other one was horribly miscast too. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's what's been eating my time.
Right.
Ever since Aaron gifted it to me, I've just been playing it like an addicted scum. It's like, I have to beat the game with House Atreides. Okay, I finally beat the game with House Atreides. Now let's try the other factions. Oh, and it's complicated. You've got so many different resources you have to manage while trying to maintain favor. It's like, wow.
Ooh.
1-2 things go off and you're sliding down a slope. So that's been my last few days. Before that, was I playing anything in particular? No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm having trouble just keeping up with my app games and doing this, so. It's like, okay, I gotta kill how many of this for Fleet Command? Okay, let's do that so I can get back to Dune. Yeah.
Which also reminds me, I tried a mega game on my phone, and that lasted about 3-4 days before I realized everything's pay to win. And it's just like,
Yeah, before
forget
you
it.
hit the paywall, yeah.
Forget it. I'm just getting beaten into the ground with one shot from a bunch of a-holes who paid for everything. Goodbye.
Yep. How about you two? How's your week been?
In terms of things that have taken up time, I was got to the point of my thesis where I needed a certain book chapter, and I could not for the life of me figure out where in my apartment I had put that book. So I spent an entire day just apparently catching up on months of housework, trying to find this book until I eventually found it in the carry-on bag that I took with me to San Francisco in February.
Oh. I was going to
Um,
say, you cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and cleaned until you realized the book was in PDF form.
Oh, no. It would have been so much easier to get some of the stuff I needed before if it was in PDF. But yeah, so I eventually found that. And yeah, that. So needless to say, I did not get as much writing done this week as I should have. But I'm better at my housework. My apartment is in a much better condition than it was a week ago.
Well, that's a bonus.
Otherwise, I was going to watch the original Doctor Strange, or at least I assume it's the original, the 1978 Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah. That was
But
made for TV,
apparently, the only way you can get it now is VHS. It's not on streaming, and the DVD is not available.
It's available on Amazon. I just saw it this week.
Amazon is where I looked it up. They said the only option was VHS.
Let me look, because I swear I just saw it this week.
That's because Marvel is attempting to dig a deep pit in the desert next to the ET cartridges and bury it.
Doctor Strange.
There's a DVD listing, but it said it was out and didn't know when it would come back.
1978. Doctor Strange, that one right there. Weird. It was available when I last checked. Maybe they all sold out already.
Apparently, you can import the Italian version, which I'm sure would probably not play on any device I have. And
no, you'd have to get a Hong Kong rip.
But yeah, so needless to say, I did not watch that.
Well, you could always watch Dr. Mordred.
Yeah, true.
Because that was a Doctor Strange movie until Marvel pulled the license, and then Full Moon just went, fuck it, we'll make it our own.
But yeah, I figured this was a good week to try to watch something like that, because next week I'll probably be talking about Doctor Strange 2 and Moon Knight, like of the MCU Doctor Strange 2, obviously, not from the 70s. But Yeah, so that was not to be. So I'll only be talking about one movie this week.
That's fine. We don't have a quota on, like,
Mhm.
you don't need to see a minimum amount of movies. Otherwise, I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Me and Rand would be like way behind right now. Which,
I
speaking of
try to
which,
aim.
if there's a DVD player, I might be trying to catch up a little bit.
Well, yeah, so in order
Yeah.
to reach my quota, let me talk to you about me watching UHF for the 16th time.
No, I try to watch 2 new things a week, partially so that I don't have to hear as often, "Oh, why have you never watched that?" But yeah, also to prevent myself from those weeks where sometimes there's like 4 things, but shows like, shows on Disney Plus always seem to end on weeks that I'm watching movies. So,
Now, next week I'll have something to talk about.
ah,
Because this week is the season finale of Star Trek Picard.
okay.
And either this week or next week is the premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Mm.
So I'll have something to talk about in both cases. Because I have been keeping track on those shows.
Mm.
But as of yet, I'm still, one episode away from completion, so...
Right, same with Moon Knight.
Hmm.
Oh, and of course, today was odd because I woke up to everybody pissed off, and I had no idea why until I attended a political science seminar, and somebody just happened to mention a Supreme Court leak, and I was like, "What are they talking about?" So I ended up Googling it and figuring it out. I was like, "Oh, that's what everybody's pissed off about today. God damn it."
Mm.
So if you don't know, apparently there was a leak of the Supreme Court has been working on writing up a decision to overturn abortion rights in the United States, which has been sliding that way for months. But this would pretty much be a nail in the coffin until they actually make it a law instead of assuming the Constitution covers it. That was your week, Alex.
I mean, work was fine, but otherwise, like, you guys have all watched uh uh Dragon Ball Z Abridged, right?
Of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Yep.
You know that bit where it's like Trunks is just screaming internally?
Oh,
Yeah, it's
mm-hmm.
that. It's
Oh yeah.
basically been that for the past couple of days. I
Oh,
won't go into
yeah.
why, but yeah.
That's like half my week every week lately, especially at work. Just find out what new ripe slice of the heck could happen now.
Yeah, I've had times like that. I haven't in a while.
It's
I swear to
less
God,
Trunks. Go ahead.
my eternal voice has been replaced by a bimbo. But
Mine has been less Trunks internal screaming and more like, have you ever listened to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and heard that distant scream in the background of some of the songs there? Yeah, that.
like, for an example, today I was talking with a friend, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to have for lunch, and I'm just going to be like, well, fuck it. I've got bacon. Let's have a bacon and grilled cheese sandwich. And he's like, ooh, yeah. Yeah, and you put cheese on both sides. And my brain comes up with, wouldn't that make the sandwich really messy? And I'm like, wow, that was like a total bimbo moment. What's wrong with me? So yeah, that's been my last couple days. My brain
Yeah.
is apparently, I don't know, been parboiled, cooked. Maybe it just had enough and has started early senility.
My brain has been steamed by the sudden back and forth to summer weather with high humidity. And every time that happens, I end up having trouble sleeping and then being like semi alert for the next days until we get a good cold rain day, and then I can catch up on sleep.
It's been in the 50s here, so.
Uh, that's what somebody in Indiana told me today. I was like, yeah, I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, it's been mostly 50s around here.
Down to 46 at the moment, but
Mm.
not been that hot. I think it got up to 60 once, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I should think about opening the screen door. Listen to Aaron yell at the cats climbing the screen door or they open the window. Listening to Aaron yell at the cats climbing the screen door, it's like, nope, I'll be fine.
Should we move on to tonight's show?
I
Yes,
suppose.
indeed.
Hmm.
So on tonight's show, we've got birthdays. We've got I think there's a little bit of news.
There's news, but it's not Doctor Who news.
Yeah, there's no Doctor Who news. Not even Big Finish today, so. Then there's at least one thing on Geek Talk, our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings.
No review of Shane because Rand's been too busy gaming.
Because I've been a bad boy. And every time I think about going back and watching something, my body's like, no.
I'm a bad boy.
You can watch an episode while you're gaming.
No, I can't. I won't pay attention to it.
Yeah, no. The only time you can do that is if it's an audio only, and even then I would prefer something like Minecraft.
Yeah. Not something where you're sitting here trying to focus on 6 things at once. Because somebody started a rebellion in one of your territories, another is getting raided, and oh my God, is that the Fremen coming down from the west? You know.
6 things at once. Those are rookie numbers. You need to pump those numbers up.
Have
Oh,
you
and
dealt with the Fremen?
and I'm negative on Solari. I've got a shortage on Plascrete, and I don't have enough manpower to crank out any more army. The frickin' game is just, like I said, micromanaging to death. So I wouldn't watch something while doing that. A nice game where I can turn my brain off, that's another matter. Anyway, so
Birthdays.
birthdays. Starting with April 27th, which was the day after our last podcast, saw 2 birthdays. First is Jenna Coleman, who of course played Clara Oswald from 2013 to 2016. She turned 36. Next is a birthday that's going to be featured a lot more often in future podcasts, and that's Russell T. Davies. The showrunner from 2005 to 2009, and soon to be showrunner again next year, turned 59. Moving forward to the 1st of May, saw the birthday of Satya Dhawan, the master, currently. He just turned 38. And on the same day is the birthday of Joanna Lumley, who played the 13th Doctor in Curse of Fatal Death. From 1999, she turned 76. From births, we go to deaths. And I am sad to note the death of actress Anne Davies, who played Jenny in the Dalek Invasion of Earth. That was the person that kind of teamed up with Barbara for most of the serial. That was one of her early acting roles. She did go on to other acting roles, including Grange Hill, The Bill, and more famously EastEnders.
Is this the first actor from that era not to be in Z-Cars?
Yeah, I don't see her in I don't see her listed anywhere in Z cars, so it might
Ooh.
be. I think she was just a scooch too young,
Hmm.
and by the time she was old enough, Z cars ended. Anyway, she's also known as being the wife of actor Richard Briers and the mother of actress Lucy Briers. Anyway, she died on the 26th at the age of 87 and is survived by her daughters. All right, this is where we would move on to Doctor Who news, but like I said, there is none. Nothing.
If I could do an impression of the dad from Fairly Odd Parents, this is where I would do that. Where
So,
we'd put our Doctor Who news, if we had any.
so we're going to move on to that rare time that we put into other sci-fi and fantasy news.
Yep. Yes. So, there's some definite news, and it kind of comes coupled with some trends and speculation. But to start with the actual concrete news, is that the CW shows Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow are officially canceled, and this is not actually coming to an ending because Legends of Tomorrow apparently was on a cliffhanger. So people were waiting for another season that is now not coming. Now, the reason why there's speculation that comes with this is so a few things have been going on. One is that Warner Bros. And Discovery have recently merged, so there's a bit of a shakeup going on, and it's becoming this, new over entity, as one does. But this is coupled with the fact that Warner Bros. Has apparently been looking to sell the CW for a few months. CW ratings have been going down for several years, very likely due to things like the writing quality based on some of the things we've covered on here.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the shift to largely driven by companies such as Disney, the shift to these shared universe between the shows and the movies on streaming services. Because we know that Warner Bros. DC has been spending a lot of effort to try to mimic the MCU. So there's a lot of speculation that this is basically the Warner Bros. Version of when Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage were canceled. That basically we're going to see the cancellation of the Arrowverse entirely in favor of an HBO Max universe that's part of the DCEU. Of course, the fact that the entire DCEU is a mess makes that difficult, but Peacekeeper was a success. If only there were more James Gunns in order to keep their business afloat.
Right.
So what we do know is that Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow are canceled, but there is reason to believe that it may run a lot deeper than that, but that is not yet confirmed.
Yeah,
Well, I
I've def-
I can't be sad because I really do feel like the Arrowverse had run its time. I mean, I had lost interest in it. I do feel that the Flash, in particular, has just been dragging on.
I definitely agree about the Flash.
And yeah, I'm
Leg-
not. I'm not sure about Legends of Tomorrow, but I constantly heard that
Le-
Batwoman just between seasons never really landed properly with either season.
I know. Well, Batwoman. Yeah, it does. It didn't. It had never seemed to hit a huge success, and I think a lot of that is because a lot of Batman characters were already mined for Arrow, and people kind of got their fill of the rich hero without powers gig, from 7 seasons of Arrow.
Mm. And there's also
Let
there's a lot of background stuff that like infighting behind the scenes with Batwoman too, between this at least the first season for sure.
yeah, but this, I mean, the first season's completely separate at this point, but
Mm.
but yeah, I haven't watched the third season because it came out so soon after the second. I didn't know that it was coming. Legends of Tomorrow is one where like it's fun when it's on, but like the first couple seasons, I felt like they really hit home, and then after that, they were like, "This is our fun show that we keep it running for the sake of keeping it running." That's not to say
Mm.
that they don't have any decent storylines, but it kind of feels like it, really after the first 3 seasons, at that point, it was kind of more or less done, and it was just running to come up with a new idea, a new gimmick every season. So I'm also, as much as it's enjoyable, I'm not sad to see that go either. I'm sure there are people who spent a lot more energy on it than me who would disagree with that, but I'm not. I wasn't hugely invested by this point. I'm a couple seasons behind, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I know some people have basically speculated that this might just be them dumping the entire Arrowverse entirely over time, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's possible would be the case. So
Yeah.
that's definitely not confirmed yet. But allegedly,
Yeah.
allegedly Grant Gustin was in talks to be in fewer episodes of the next season of The Flash, kind of like Stephen Amell with the final season of Arrow. So
Yeah.
that's part of what's driving the speculation that it's the final season of Flash. And if so, I mean, as we've said, Flash could have done with ending a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't get why they had when they decided to bring Flash into the movies. I'm surprised they didn't go, well, goodbye to the TV one.
Well, they still haven't made a Flash
Well,
movie,
right, true. Yeah.
and right now they're looking. They're looking for a new actor, unless they've decided one and not
Probably.
announced one.
Hmm.
All right, seems like we've
Yeah.
said all we have to say on that.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the Eternals. So I don't know if it was the trailers or just other people talking about the trailers, but definitely my expectations of this were nothing like when it came out. It was an interesting movie. I knew nothing about the characters going into this. Um, Although I knew somewhat of the premises, and I've noticed that they seem to cut out some of the weird eugenicist issues related to the deviants and such, which is not really a surprise. In terms of what's in it, and if you watch it, it's almost like the team is kind of a Justice League pastiche to the point where uh, there's definitely a moment where it's basically a Superman versus the Justice League. So if you had no idea if you want to watch the movie or not, you could kind of base it on, do you want to see what Superman versus the Justice League, and that'll at least give you a decent idea of at least a few scenes. Um, the movie, of course, was highly lauded for its disability coverage, which mainly focused on the deaf character, who's basically as deaf as Daredevil is blind. Um, but there are characters with other disabilities that were covered a little bit less. That I think are at least fair, decently done. Alex and I were having a conversation about that earlier. There are pros and cons of that, but I'm not going to get too deep into that because I don't, especially since I don't want to spoil everything. And some things are just kind of open to interpretation. Uh, I think it was a good movie. Very character driven. I do have to say some of the things that the main characters do here kind of put WandaVision to shame in terms of it doesn't seem like Wanda did anything all that bad in comparison. Uh, and yeah, um, Damn it! There was somewhere else I was about to something I was about to say that just literally slipped out of my mind. Oh yeah. It's definitely the very definition of a kind of like fucked up family sort of movie where the characters basically have the relationship of that kind of family that will like beat the shit out of each other at Thanksgiving, and then come back together to give gifts to one another at Christmas. But saying any more about that would definitely go into spoiler territory. So I'll say, um, it was enjoyable to watch. Like I said, it was almost like MCU's take on the Justice League in some ways, which was kind of funny. Um, and yeah, I don't know what it leads into, but it definitely relates to the cosmic stuff in Marvel. Um, and I would probably say give it a watch, but as of the moment, it's not essential viewing for any upcoming movies. But it didn't feel like a waste of time either.
Okay. And that seems to be about that on Eternals.
Okay. So I guess it's to me again for the third thing in a row.
So yeah, is it ready
All
to
right.
give your
Yep.
You need to take a drink of water first, Bill?
Nope.
need
I got
rid
my
of need
water right here. I'm good. Just give me a countdown.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. There's a massive thunderstorm, so Georgie stays the night at the house where it seems everybody else in the cast lives. Um, Darius continues to be the butt of all the jokes. This time, joking about chess, and him lacking a brain. Uh, Starkey sees a boy's face in the window, and then later on, the three teens hear somebody giggling. They follow after. First, Starkey and Georgie with K-9, and then Darius, like 2 minutes later, for whatever reason. I'll talk about that later. They find two children that K-9 says do not exist except for on the visual spectrum. The children run off in opposite directions, leading the cast through a chase around the building. And then eventually the cast find a recording showing the two kids with Gryffen. They are his lost kids, Jacob and Mina. The teens run into Jacob and Mina again, who fill K-9 with ectoplasm and shoot stun rays at the three teenagers. Starkey and K-9 get shoved into a closet, while Darius and Georgie are basically not tied up, but sci-fi tied up, to be fed into the time-space manipulator. Griffin's wife appears, distracting him from everything that is going on, and seemingly sapping his memory and causing him to forget who Darius, Starkey, and Georgie are. Griffin's wife tells him that if he doesn't interfere and allows the teens to be drawn into the time-space manipulator, then they and the children can be a family again. K-9 hypothesizes that the three ghosts were created by Griffin's multiple attempts to retrieve his family with the time-space manipulator, and that they need to sacrifice living people in order to fully materialize. Griffin's wife at first says that they refuse to be banished, but then the storm dies down and the power comes back on, so the three ghosts step into the time-space manipulator to go back wherever they came from. Georgie's mom calls up and says she's sending a car around, and the characters say their goodbyes. The end.
2 minutes 23 seconds.
Of course, that's easy for one of these
Yeah,
Yeah.
K-9 episodes.
right.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
don't think...
let's keep a good thing going, and let's talk about what we like about the episode. And the Bill Show will continue.
Damn.
When it rains, it pours.
All right. What? I guess I like the kind of the variety of ways they lead into it. Like first, there's the power going out, then there's the face, then there's the giggling, then there's the ectoplasm. Like they definitely like they pull out all the tropes, and not in a like. You could argue that there's nothing original about that, but it's not in a particularly cheesy or overdone way. Like it's, it kind of builds naturally into what they're doing.
Okay. Alex.
The main takeaway I had from watching this is that this is basically the episode we watched last week, but better.
It was written by the same people.
Yeah, you'd half think that the last episode was just a dry run for this because while this isn't exactly perfect by any stretch, I just the longer this went, the more I'm like, why did they even do the episode before? This is basically a better execution of a very similar concept.
Going from the Bogart story to the ghost story.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they were writing this with Halloween in mind.
Yeah, this must have been like a pair of October episodes or something.
It was not, but it might have originally intended
Should have been.
To be
They
fair,
even mention Halloween. Yeah.
To be fair, though, so I don't know if England really does much for Halloween, but it was filmed in Australia, so that might be why it wasn't. They didn't care as much about thinking about an October kind of release for it.
Okay.
What
So
is Halloween 6 months off in Australia too?
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, we don't really do much for it.
Just to let you know, the world premiere for this, the first place that got it is Scandinavia for whatever reason. They got episode 6 on the 16th of February 2010. The next place to get it was the UK, which got it on the 11th of April. And then Australia got it on the 8th of May. Now, you notice there's no US release date on there because, of course, we didn't get it till like a couple years later.
I like how the country it was made in gets it 3 months after the world premiere.
Well, I wouldn't have surprised if the UK had gotten it first, because it was technically a co-production between Australia and the CBBC, something like that. So there was something with a UK producer. Although I think it was Australia, Canada, UK all chipped in a little bit of money. What the fuck? But anyway, yeah, the other one came out basically a week later, except of course for the UK, which interesting enough didn't get this till June. So it went Scandinavia, Australia, then the UK. I don't know.
What on earth? This show had a lot of weird issues, apparently.
Well, what would happen is they would show a string of episodes, and then they'd take a break, and they'd show a string of episodes. If I remember correctly, this aired on Jetix, now that I think about it. And this was the Jetix Europe, not the one that we had here that was part of, like, Disney XD. Oh, no, it was UK and Ireland's Disney XD. So they probably did the same thing, where they would show like 6-7 episodes, and then they'd take a break and re-show the 6-7 episodes, and then they would go on and show 6 more episodes, because why don't we make a season look even longer by just adding stuff? That's right. When it started production, it was Jetix, and then Disney XD bought Jetix, and chaos happened. All right, Matt. How about you?
overall. Oh, where I had it now. I can't remember what was overall favorite thing. Character growth. Freaking finally, even
Damn
though
it!
it's minuscule, character growth. We finally get the kids to understand what's going on with the professor, and they start to unravel some things. And also, might I add, we were theorizing that K-9 would not keep his emotions, yet here he's cracking wise, has a sense of humor, and even laughs at the very end.
Yeah, we'll see if that holds till the next episode.
We'll see,
When it's
but
under
it's holding
different
on
this,
writers.
still.
this is the same writers, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
So-
see if that holds till the next episode with different writers.
Right, but so
Although
far it is holding on.
I do think K-9 always cracked wise.
He seemed to be more purposely so, whereas before his cracking wise used to be him being too literal.
Well, Matt just stole mine, is the fact that the characters seem to be a lot more natural in this than they were in the others. They seem to respond and play off each other a little better. But I swear to God, the whole reason the beginning became that one was them drawing. Look, I'm Darius. I'm not Ron Weasley. I suck at chess. But yeah. Other than that, I thought they reacted the way teenagers would. And that's really all I have to say about it. They seem to react better. They seem to react more naturally. Like, maybe now that we're a few episodes in, the actors are getting more comfortable in their roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about what we don't like about the episode. Bill, you're first.
I think the main thing I have to say is it kind of applies to every episode in the show is just there's no need for Darius. He could have been cut from this episode and it would have not affected it would have affected his like one line where he's like, "What are you talking about? Those are the professor's kids." But I don't know if that actually affected much. Like, especially since that's something they should have learned in episode 1 or 2. So yeah, it's
you know something, Bill?
yeah.
That's what I have to say about Ron Weasley and Harry Potter.
So you're basically saying, Bill, that this is Darius Muyo.
Yeah. I have seen a lot of memes pointing out the fact that Ron was a lot more had a lot more point in the books than the movies.
No, even in the books. I mean, he had more point in the first couple of books, but by the season 4 or 5, he was not. No.
Fair. But yeah,
by the later books, he was only there for Hermione to moon over, and that's about as pointless as.
But yeah, I think Darius was intended to add like more character dynamics and like banter to the show, but either the actors could not banter, or the writers could not write banter, or the directors could not direct banter. But there is not banter worth having this many teens in the show. And Darius and the plot never cares about Darius.
Maybe he gets eaten later. I don't remember.
I mean, I would argue that he makes slightly more sense being in this one compared to some other ones where they really just kind of throw him in last minute, because like you kind of need to have someone else there to be taken by the kids so Starkey can do whatever he's doing. But yeah, even then he is basically a third wheel.
Yeah, he's been the third wheel since the beginning.
Yep.
It's amusing that he becomes the robot dog in the show about a robot dog.
I mean, I think originally it was supposed to be written to be a love triangle.
Yeah, that's what it was like in the first episode.
And then they kind of realized that these are teenagers. It was kind of pointless. Because you notice, even the implied crush that Georgie had on Starkey seems to have gone by the wayside.
So,
There
because
seems to be minor keys of that, but
So-
it's definitely not playing up front.
I don't know how much of that is just the way the actor is, but Georgie always seems like whenever Starkey's talking, she does have that sort of like moon-eyed expression, like just like stare, like that like crush stare that people get.
Mm.
And also, like, I doubt they were ever going to be able to do a kiss between Darius and Georgie anyway, because Darius's actor was in his early 20s and Georgie is legitimately a teenager, so it would have been kind of awkward.
Just a bit.
They could have if there was a buy sign on it. By the probably Georgie's guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that this is being done for acting in a scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, because there's been several teenage actors that have been kissed or kissed, and yeah, that's usually they have to get a waiver permission from the guardians. A little signed thing saying that yes, we understand that this is for this. We give our permission. Blah 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 blah. Legal boilerplate. Legal boilerplate.
Oh, and then they get that license from the Transformers movie.
We understand that the party of the first part, hereby called, and the party of the second part, agree that this is for a fictional exchange. Do I need to go on? Because legalese can take hours.
I think we're good. So next is Alex.
Yep. In a way, the immediate, with how like over the top emotional K-9 is in the previous one at the end, part of me is almost kind of like, was this written before that? As like a slap this in anywhere kind of episode, or like, because it's very downplayed. I mean, like, there are moments where he's very sarcastic and stuff like that, but it's just kind of like, okay, so we give him emotions and then we basically ignore that for like 2/3 of the episode. Like, he even developed a sense of fear in the previous episode, and that doesn't come up at all. So
One thing I noticed when doing the opening bump, I was like, for a ghost story, not one person like screams or even gets really scared, other than like there's the one moment when their life is in literal peril, but nobody actually gets scared
Near the
in the
end,
ghost
yeah.
story kind of way.
Yeah. Which even for a kid show is kind of bizarre. Like, you could even maybe you could hand wave it away as like, well, they've seen some shit. But
I mean, I guess it's a good thing they didn't go for the default, teen girl screams, but actually,
yeah.
I think if anyone, Darius would have been the right character to
Yeah.
He's
scream
screaming
at a
yeah.
ghost. Especially
Yeah.
since
Scream like a girl. Yeah. 5 years old. Pigtails.
Darius, now we want you to scream like Ashley Williams in Evil Dead 2 when Henrietta came out of the ground with the basement scene.
or
Give it as
Darius-
high and as shrill as you can, Darius.
We want you to scream like you're one of the Olsen twins.
or like that Casper scene I used in the opening bump.
All right, I think we're down to Matt.
Least favorite thing about this. Honestly, I feel like it was a lot scarier when it was just the creepy kids. The mother came into it and she
Yeah.
suddenly felt really ham-fisted.
Yeah. Honestly, I have to go with Matt on this. When you first saw the kids, it was like the fucking Shining.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was.
But in this case, they were smart enough to not have the kids talk.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, they had that same kind of haggard
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
that made them look just so creepy. And if they had played with that, they could have, on their budget, made a really creepy horror episode.
Right.
Mhm.
But they didn't. Instead, they do this, and then they bring out the mother, who is nowhere near as creepy as the kids, trying to entice Gryffen that they can be a family again, which, when it's revealed what they are, makes no sense whatsoever.
It's never quite revealed what they are, in the sense, like, part of me...
They're like a negative
yeah.
version of his family from another
Well, no,
dimension,
they're supposed to
essentially.
be negative energy beings that are using his family as basically a form.
Basically, right.
Yeah,
But
so
they can
they're
also manipulate memory. So
Yeah.
part of me was like, are these Adam's people?
Yeah, and then
Is this literally Adam?
well, what's even worse is the fact that them not actually being his family would mean they wouldn't have any real care about Gryffen. Yet here she is trying to appease him while they do their business. So it's like,
Yeah. I mean,
you would think she would be equally attempted to tie Gryffen to one of those tables.
It's like they were basically created by his desire to find his family again. Which I kind of looked at it like, it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't make sense in a kind of way that's acceptable enough for like a Doctor Who universe show. Like, there are Doctor Who episodes that make significantly less sense. So I figure it's in the realm of okay, but not not like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but not in the realm of fuck that.
It's
Yeah,
in the
but
realm
no.
of hand-wavy metaphysics.
But like I said, they had it in them to make a goddamn spooky episode
Right.
that still would have been kid-friendly, but
Mhm.
spooky as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, kids love to be
Yeah.
scared.
Are you afraid of the dark?
But instead, they immediately muted it down, and I feel that's a real disappointment.
Yeah, they immediately bring in the
Fair,
mother
fair.
character, and she just undercuts every bit of tension.
Now, if they did that within like the last 5 minutes, where they're writing to the conclusion, that would be fine. If you had, the opening 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes of them running through the house being scared to death by these kids.
And maybe one very brief, slight visage of the mother just calling the kids back when everything failed.
Or even
But-
just like the mum not talking, like that we can hear, like maybe her voice is in his head, but
That
she's not
would have been
like
kind of creepy.
actually talking.
That could have been slightly effective too. Like, not directly interacting with him, but like luring him in from afar kind of deal.
Also, the way they give up at the end feels kind of hackneyed.
Yes, I kind of alluded to that in the summary. I was just like, she's like, oh, we refuse to go back to where we came from. All right, let's go back where we came from.
Oh, look,
The power's
storm
shutting
is
down. I
over.
guess we're going back. Bye.
What would have been better is if the storm ended and they were like, no! And, you actually see them get sucked back in.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, even to add to all of that, and I this was especially clear when I was trying to find good shots for the title card. But it's like, she specifically she's like, oh, don't like touch me, I'm fragile and whatever. I'm like, okay, we're supposed to be scared of the power of these ghosts or whatever, but she's kind of implying that like she'll shatter if he touches her, and we don't know what's actually gonna happen. Like, it might be better if it like
She'd slime him.
Yeah, it might have been
slime
something
him,
like
and his
that.
hands would go right through her.
But like, she even like winces when he reaches for her, so it's just like, are they that easy to beat? Like, what the fuck?
No, it's
Well,
just that
really-
that she wants to avoid giving him clues to
Mhm.
what's going on.
Right.
Well, all you need is a couple of nuclear accelerators, a positron glider, and you could take care of the problem no end.
Should we get the rock salt and the tiger's eye while we're at it?
Oh yeah, don't forget the holy water.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are a couple of incense sticks. Oh, and don't forget the exorcism book.
Oh yeah, the exorcism book. Yep.
I
Can you tell we ghost hunt too much?
I think that first list of items are more likely to be around the house.
Along with the unlicensed nuclear accelerators.
Yeah. So you said that was both of yours, right?
Kind of,
Yeah.
sort of.
So
Yeah,
now
so
we're
up
on
to
to
favorite scenes.
my favorite scene, and I definitely got derailed trying to come up with one.
Yeah, I have mine. Please don't take
I
it.
guess I'm gonna go with the I guess the scene where they're like looking for the ghosts, where they're like they hear the giggling sound. Although it's related to my least favorite scene, but I'll talk about that later. They hear the giggling sound and they go searching, and then they find these, just ghosts staring at them in the hallway. It's suitably creepy.
That's the shining moment right there.
Yes, yes. So yeah, I thought that was well shot, like even fairly well acted. The once they showed up, like the ghost makeup was great. It was a good scene.
All right. Alex. I had to go back and check my notes on who was next because my brain completely spaced.
I have one, but I feel like I might be stealing either way because this is like a half-hour episode, but I'm going to avoid one just in case, and I'm going to go with the mum calling Georgie after the storms passed, or like the worst of the storm has passed, and Drake being like, "Oh, you sure have a lot of time to make personal calls," and she's just like, "Oh yeah, you're breaking up, bye."
Oh no, that was in the middle of the storm.
About
Yeah.
that was actually kind of a funny little fact.
Sorry, I'm going into a tunnel.
That was when the power went out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt.
I'm gonna go with the scene where they have a little conversation with K-9 on the staircase as they're looking around. Because that was another point where we actually get some character development again. Like, even K-9 literally explaining himself as to why he's decided to stick around with these humans.
Yes, when he was talking with Starkey.
Yeah. Yeah, you mean K-9 kind of questioning Starkey a bit as to why he's around, and K-9 just kind of replying back after it's reversed to him, just kind of going, well, out of all the places in the universe I'm immediately aware of, this is the one place I'm immediately needed at, isn't it? And just kind of continuing to scan around.
All right. I will go with K-9 learning passive aggression.
So yeah, the one where he's just like, "Oh, I guess all of my systems aren't useful."
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that is the one that I avoided. That is the one that I avoided going with because I knew someone was going to bring it up.
I went for it because I was the last person. So
yeah.
Hey, no one's grabbed the low-hanging fruit.
Oh, that could have been a bump too. That scene, and just replace it with the dialogue, brain the size of a supercomputer.
Yes. Here I am. Brain the size of a planet.
Brain the size of a supercomputer. Brain the size of a planet. And what do you expect from my kind of work? Go and get them. They say.
Call this job satisfaction.
Call this job satisfaction because I don't.
But which version do you go for? The original
Oh,
TV version?
I go for the TV
or the,
version.
Or
I
the
usually
Alan Rickman version?
The Alan Rickman version is
So-
really good, but the TV version is the one I can do best.
So by choice, I go for the TV version, but it's easier. At least when I'm looking, I don't know about clips on YouTube, but when I'm looking for like an animated GIF, it's always the Alan Rickman version's easier to find.
Mm-hmm. The Alan Rickman version looks better, and I do enjoy his take on it, but the original TV version is easier for me to imitate.
Mm.
Here comes one of these sodding doors again.
Oh, I think you can actually get both of the versions. Alan Rickman version's #1. Marvin's or the original Marvin's #2. So
Oh, okay,
I just had to check.
gotcha. So
Speaking of
that's
which,
us
that
done
Marvin
with
still
best
made an
scenes.
appearance in that movie.
I know, that was great. That was a great shout out. He was in the queue.
Yep.
So
All
on
right.
to least favorite scenes.
And that's starting with you, Bill.
Yep. So mine is the scene where you start with Starkey, Georgie, and K-9 all go out to look for the ghosts. Darius just like looks at them, shuts the door, waits 2 minutes, and then follows. Specifically just so that he doesn't see the ghosts in time to reveal plot relevant information, but then is around to annoy them for the next scene. Like, what's the point of view? Like, and that's why I was like, I was like, is he scared of giggling? Like, I don't even fucking know what the point of this is, other than the fact that, well, we can't have him see the ghost because then he'll explain things 5 minutes early and already cut all the tension out of the wondering who they are, even though I'm pretty sure everyone in the audience over the age of 5 already figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know.
All right. Anybody have anything to say about that? No?
Oh.
Alex?
We sort of discussed it already, but yeah, basically for lack of anything else off the top of my head, I'm just gonna go with the ghost died on the way back to the home planet bit at the end. Where it's just like, well, that failed. I guess we're just gonna give up. Because yeah, it is just like you couldn't think of like
We give
now,
up, or reality needs us.
if it was, it's one of those funny things of like, if you wanted to have the ghost willingly go back in, you could just have it be that like the entities that were using their memories to do this, the longer they were taking the form of these people, the more their memories, their actual personalities were seeping in. So the wife was like, whoa, hey, this is fucked up. Let's just go. Or something. That would be something. But yeah, otherwise, as was discussed before, they might as well have just been sucked back in because, oh, whoops, the time ran out.
Right. They're like, well, we need them just to be sucked back in. I could imagine, like, the first draft of the script is they get sucked back in, and someone's like, hey, so our CGI budget is $3. Can they just walk in?
Which is funny
and we'll
because
overlay
an
the previous effects.
Yeah, like the funny thing is the easy way around that is just there being a bright flash of white, and then they're just not there anymore, and the
Right.
thing's gone.
Or not even, you don't even need to do that. You just need to have a shot where they were at. Just keep the camera there, and you just dissolve to them not being there. It gives them at least a moment to emote before they disappear, whereas opposed to being
Star
blank.
Trek, the original series, used that all the time.
Right.
And they used it great. I mean, some of the most tear-jerking parts of that were using that kind of fadeaway shot.
Right.
End of Charlie X. I think Who Mourns for Adonis had like them pleading with them trying to remain in existence, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, the guy was a complete monster, but you feel bad for him.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss those kind of endings. Because, it gave you a little bit of, heart. Hell, I think classic Doctor Who used to do a few of those too.
Oh yeah, would not be surprised. Just can't name off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they've done it more than a couple times.
So yeah, it's there were many better ways of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who are we up to? Was that?
I think that was.
We're up to Matt now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I thought we had you left. But I
So,
wasn't sure.
least favorite moment. I suddenly realized where the plot is going as lightning storm is going on outside, and the apparatus starts to wake up again. And
Once
immediately,
again, I'm with Matt.
my immediate reaction is, why is this thing still fucking plugged in?
Yes. How many situations have they had because this machine of his just activates on its own?
All of them.
At least
Well,
a good
yeah,
half
there's
of
only
them
been like
at this point.
95% of them. The rest of them are all caused by the frickin' agency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the frickin' cabinet had nothing to do with this from the last episode.
That we know of.
But yes, so many of their problems are caused by this machine. You would think the professor would be like, "Oh, I need to install a failsafe."
Need to install a failsafe. I need to make sure that I remove the main apparatus so I can actually fix whatever's going on with it or something.
This episode could have been prevented by a surge protector.
That's part of the failsafe. But yeah, it's just stupid that we're like 6 episodes in and they haven't figured out, oh, we need to keep this thing shut down, locked down, unplugged until ready to be used. It annoys me. And didn't it used to be so complicated that people were tripping over the cord in the first episode?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not seeing any of that now, are we?
No. We could have used that outlet right about now.
Yeah, this is... they need to stop with the whole, oh, it turns on its own. No,
Which is funny,
what you do is you put in a control key that basically works like a fuse.
Right.
That, or we need Sarky to go running around upstairs for a few more minutes, and maybe he'll hit the plug again.
Because yeah, it is funny because it's like the first 3 episodes are all like this going to shit, and then there's 2 episodes where it doesn't, and then it goes to shit again in this one.
I mean, if they're going to keep this up, it's going to get really repetitive.
Yep.
What monster of the week is going to walk through the machine this time? Because no one learns their lesson.
Yep. So, I'm with Matt on this one because that was my beef. We're up to final thoughts. Holy shit, we're up to final thoughts. Bill, it's your final thought.
So I guess it was a competent ghost story. As we've mentioned, definitely not a perfect story. Definitely some very writing of convenience. Both in Darius's plot and in in Griffin's wife, ghost wife, whatever the fuck you feel like calling her. But I think especially the first 2/3 of the episode especially mostly competently good. Uh, I would say fairly good for this show. I'm trying to think of anything more like original or interesting to say about it, but I kind of wish they had done more of the Raven if they were going to actually crack it open, but I don't know what the point of that was.
They were just trying to pass time.
Yeah, same with the chess, I guess. But yeah, the ghosts were decent. I kind of wish we'd gotten more of those and less of like the other weirdness.
Mm.
And yeah, I guess that's about the end. All I have to say.
I would like to point out that I used to do, just for shits and giggles, The Raven as recited by Elvis Presley.
uh,
Yeah, it's your go.
yeah. But yeah, like, again, despite the faults that this is at the very least a better execution of I mean, like, it's not the exact like exploration of fear thingy from last week from Fear itself. Although I did find myself thinking, this probably could have also been called Fear itself to a point.
But nobody's
But
afraid.
nah. But like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's funny when they tried to handle the like, what is fear? It's like they bungled it, but now it's just like, fuck it, let's just do a ghost story. And it's like, hey, it's actually an improvement for not trying to juggle like the concept of fear in a kid's show. And like, not even like just a general kid show. If this is airing on CBeebies, then this was for a young audience. So like, probably like it would have been for a younger audience than Sarah Jane was aimed at. Probably. And
I think
that
Sarah
being
Jane
said,
was on
I think that
CBBC.
Sarah Jane
probably
was CBBC, yes.
Yeah.
This was being aired on Disney XD. And it was this one was aimed at 11 to 15-year-olds. So Sarah Jane was aimed at like the around the 10-year-old market.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't
See,
Sarah Jane
that's the
technically
bizarre.
younger? Yeah.
Like, that's the weird thing, because it feels like those are flipped, because this feels like this is aimed at a younger market than Sarah Jane.
It
Maybe
really
it's just
does.
because though I guess to be fair, Disney would have not taken this on if it
they
had
didn't pull the
more.
punches, yeah.
Yeah. So I could maybe see that being something that kind of bit them in the ass there. Whereas I don't think the BBC would have cared as much, because it's like, it's Doctor Who, whatever. So long as we don't have blood and stuff, it's fine.
As long as it doesn't have blood, so we give the kids a decent moral lesson by the end. Bye-bye.
Okay. So BBC targets 6 to 17. I'm trying to see if there was a specific target audience for Sarah Jane. No, it didn't. It doesn't say specifically what the age was for them.
Yeah, I basically take it as it's aimed for a younger audience than Doctor Who was. The difference being kids show versus family show, but like, even then, it's like, I mean, I feel like this is again an episode where I feel like a similar concept has been handled in Sarah Jane and better. But this is a case where I'm like, I'm willing to be a bit more forgiving because it doesn't have as much of the glaring issues that last week's episode had. And like, especially, I give this one a bit of it seems like the writer realized, oh yeah, throwing in those random things where they're like trying to scare K-9 for some reason was a silly idea that I'm not going to repeat, because none of that shit happens in this one, thank God. But yeah, it's like this could have been while this could have been better executed, this wasn't as bad as Fear itself. So it has that going for it at least.
Okay. Matt?
All right. Well, I don't know. Yeah, the whole weirdness as to what age group this show is supposed to be aimed at, it does feel like it's supposed to be younger than the Sarah Jane Smith show, which does explain a few of my feelings towards this show and why things seem a little stilted and pulled back a bit once in a while. But even with that, I will say this is at least better put together than the previous episode was. And if it wasn't for some faulty writing in the last act, this would have been actually a pretty decent episode. It's just like that third act kind of kept going 50-50. Either something really good, immediately followed by something really corny, and took you out of it
All right.
until they finally ended the episode. Basically, my general thoughts on it.
Okay. So my thoughts is, well, this is a decent. I mean, it's kind of a middle of the road episode for me. I think it's better than last time, but I still think that there was a lot of flaws, and this could have been better. They could have gone more with the horror aspect they were going for, or at the very least, almost made it more like Scooby-Doo levels of horror. And instead, we got kind of a stilted horror slash doesn't know whether it wants to be a horror story or an alien invasion story, and it can't make up its mind, and kind of loses the plot in the middle. The acting by the main cast, I do have to say, is a lot better because they are acting more naturally off each other, as I do believe that the show's producers basically told them to tone down the romance part, think a team of friends, and that's working a little better. As a result, Darius is a little less abrasive. I'm not saying he's not abrasive, I'm saying he's less abrasive. And there's a little bit, it just seems to be that they're meshing a little better.
Mm-hmm.
So by no means is this perfect. It's just improved slightly. All right, let's rate this. So
I'm thinking 3.5.
3.5. Oops, my numlock's not on. All right. Alex, you rated last week a 2.5.
Ooh. You know what? I feel like this had less shortcomings than last week, so I'm willing to agree with Bill. I'll give this a 3.5 as well.
Matt.
Honestly, I think I was already leaning the same direction, so yeah, 3.5.
All right, and I'm going to give this a 3.0.
Oh!
Not quite for me, because like I said, I did kind of feel this was middle of the road mediocre.
The negative one 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. Mind you, I did raise my point. I did raise my vote a full point from last time.
Right.
As did Matt and Alex. You raised yours only half.
It's improving, but yeah, it's not greatly improved.
A 4.0 would have been too high.
Yeah.
I highly agree with that. And between our votes, this comes out to a 3.38. A 3.38 will put this at number 307 out of 422 things reviewed.
I think that makes it tied for the second best K-9 episode so far.
Yes, it's actually tied with the Corvin and is on the same level as Sarah Jane Adventures, The Temptation of Sarah Jane Smith, And Torchwood, they keep killing Susie.
Oof.
It is better than K-9 Regeneration Liberation, which is at a 3.13. And not as good as oh wow, I have to go for a while here. Here we go. Torchwood Small Worlds at a 3.5. So there we go. 307 out of 422 things reviewed. That is all we have to say about K-9, The Fall of the House of Gryffen.
All right, so please let us know in the comments if you've watched this episode. What did you think about it? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to get our exports every week on YouTube, or follow us on Twitch to get our streams every Tuesday night.
All right, so next week we're continuing down this K-9 rabbit hole. We get different writers next week, and so we'll see how much continuity remains. Next week it is K-9 Jaws of Orthrus, written by Lindsay James, and starring John Leeson as K-9, Keegan Joyce as Starkey, Felipe Coulthard as Georgie Turner, Daniel Weber as Darius Pike, and Robert Maloney as Alistair Griffin. We will see you next week.
I'll see you
You
all in
then.
2 weeks. I'll be closing next week, but hopefully I'll remember to give my thoughts for next week.
In 2 weeks is our week off.
Oh, so I'll
So
see you
we'll see
on
you
3.
in 3 weeks.